Oh, there we go. Ha! Welcome to Ball and Chain Podcast. I had the mute button on and kind of started talking, but I was like, oh god, we need to turn the mute button off. Welcome to the Ball and Chain Podcast. This is episode 223. This episode, we got a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. We are a video game, movies, TV shows, comic books, all sorts of entertainment things and fun stuff that we, like to do. Like to talk about that stuff. I'm Mox Bordigan. I have with me, as always, it's my angel. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
There you go. You got to talk into the mic here. Okay, Eli.
Shut up.
How are you doing?
Nothing.
Okay, Eli.
I'm fine. How are you?
I am fantastical. Never better. I've got 2 days of it off for quote-unquote vacation coming today, tomorrow and Friday.
Meaning housework.
Meaning housework. Hopefully some video games in there somewhere. New God of War comes out on Friday, so I got to get my housework done early so I can play video games over the weekend. Sound like I'm back living with my parents. No. I've got a pipe that is clogged that needs to be fixed. And
exciting life here at the Dodgers.
The clog is not underneath the sink. The clog is somewhere in the wall. Luckily, though, the wall isn't very deep and it comes down into the basement. We've got access to it. So fingers crossed that it won't suck, but it probably will. So what are we talking about? We started out to be kind of a
house repairs.
We're not talking about house repairs. We're talking about video games and stuff. It started out to be a pretty ho-hum show, but it quickly came together because I've got a whole bunch of fun stuff to talk about. And we've also got the Walking Dead recap of the finale. And, I forgot to outline Fear. Oh, no.
Right.
We'll have to, kind of go off of memory because all those characters are forgettable. Shit.
Well, and we never saw season 3.
Right. This is very true.
We were jumping into season 4 having not watched season 3.
But the funny thing is, and I was actually talking with someone about this at work, because they were pissed off about the premiere. Because they were huge fans of season 3, and then they're like, "This is like the Morgan show," and if I wanted to watch Morgan, I'd watch Walking Dead. I'm like, well, I hope you buckle in because he's gonna be like mainly featured into the series. I have a feeling.
Well, I guess. I mean, we never watched it regularly except when it first started.
Right, we watched like the first season.
Right. And it's not because I didn't care for it. It's just, I guess, I just didn't care for it as much as the regular Walking Dead because we were already invested into it. The thing that I did like about Fear was, and I guess we're kind of jumping ahead here.
Yeah. No spoilers yet.
Was that it took place. I tried to move it so my face was visible on the thing.
My bad.
But
my bad.
No, it still is. That's okay. I can hide.
No, don't hide. I'll just turn this up a little bit. Go ahead, keep talking.
Was that it took place like at the beginning of the zombie apocalypse, which we really didn't get to see much of since Rick was in a coma.
Right.
And how that spread. I think that was kind of really the novel idea of that particular show.
Right.
But we'll
get into that later.
We'll get back to.
So tonight, this evening, what we are talking about, we've got Mansions of Madness. I almost called it Marches of Madness. Mansions of Madness, the video game, got announced. We're going to talk just a little bit about that. I actually on the last podcast I did by myself because you had to do your. I recorded on last Thursday and you were doing your photography thing. I actually opened up the box and kind of demonstrating or displaying the pieces and talking about the game or whatever. So we just literally talked about the board game last episode 222, and just today, yesterday they announced about an upcoming game that they're going to be releasing. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We got some Fortnite parental warnings for everybody, all you moms and dads out there that have kids that are playing this evil game called Fortnite. I'm just kidding, Fortnite. We're going to be talking about that a little bit. We're also going to talk about today we got some kind of devastating news for some people. Black Ops 4 is not going to have a single player campaign. It's unfortunate. So we'll talk all about that, and then of course we got our spoilers for Walking Dead. So let's kind of jump into Mansions of Madness, the video game. So,
Okay.
whoops, that's the wrong one. Yeah, we're back. There we go. This is just a great show. Oh, shoot. All right, so Fantasy Flight Games is the producer or the distributor of the Mansions of Madness board game, and it looks like a video game developer by the name of Lucky Hammers is going to be creating a video game in its honor, and it's going to be like an adaptation of the actual game itself. It's a single player campaign, no multiplayer. You're going to be playing as 4 of the characters, so you'll see these 4 characters. There's not much information out right now, but if you go to the Fantasy Flight under their news and stuff like that, you can read about the actual article itself. It gives you a little bit of synopsis about what the actual game's about. But what I was interested in mostly is the screenshots, because I want to know how they're going to create this game. And the screenshots, looking at the screenshots, it looks a lot like old school Resident Evil games, where the camera is stationary and you walk into rooms and out of rooms, and the camera just kind of like cuts and goes to a new room or whatever. And to me, that's fantastic, because I was a huge fan of that. And I think it would actually fit in very, very well with the suspense that the game had. Like the game itself, like the board game itself has a lot of suspense. Like, oh, what's going to happen next? Rolling the dice and all that other crap. But like it has that same type of feel that I think that an old school Resident Evil game, if applied correctly, would work really well. Because in the board game, you're kind of going back and forth through different rooms or whatever, and you've already traversed this room, but you got to go back and do something else or whatever in that room. And now there's a demon in there or something like that, or there's a zombie, or something happens where there's a zombie that pops up in that room or whatever. So
it's always funny because whenever we talk about this game, you always say, "Oh, a zombie's gonna," and there's no zombies.
Okay,
It's all,
there's
like,
no
cultists
zombies.
and,
They're
like,
cultists,
these weird
demon things. I'm
creatures.
sorry,
Or fishmen.
Fishmen. They're called deep ones. Get it right.
Right, but the old guy in the one thing says fishman.
Oh, fishman. Sorry, my bad, fishman. I wasn't following you.
Yeah, the drunk.
All right, the drunk. So the game, it's coming out in 2019, so they got quite a while. I'm a little skeptical as to how well it's only going to be on PC. The developer Lucky Hammers has only released one game on PC, and that was Terraforming Mars. I've never played it, don't know anything about it. But they've got a handful of mobile games under their belt and stuff like that. So this will be a huge undertaking for them. And that's kind of what's got me worried. Based on the screenshots, it looks like it's pretty far along.
Honestly, I mean, so much of the actual board game is done through the tablet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why you wouldn't just take what they already have for the tablet and just, okay, now your person's here, now you're, because the one thing, I'm trying to think of how to word this. When you're playing, you have the board, and the computer, the tablet, knows where the searchable items are. You click on it to tell it you're searching that item. And then if you've completed all the actions you can, that item or that person or the door goes away.
Right.
But it doesn't know which character is. It doesn't know.
It doesn't track where the character's
right.
location
It doesn't know that this character is the one that opened the door. Or this character is
right. It doesn't know who performed the action, just that the action was performed and completed.
Right. So I would think just take that, but then you put the characters on there. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
Right. I mean, they don't. I mean, you.
Basically,
I could
just
see
digitize the board game.
I could see how you could do that, but don't you think that would take away from the board game though? I mean,
there's no need for the board game at that point.
Right.
That's why
I mean, the tablet by itself, the app itself is very, very close to not needing the board game whatsoever, which is really scary from a developer standpoint, because you're like, wow, the only thing that's not on this actual board is
the
people
and the characters.
and the characters. I guess, and then you don't have like the card. You don't. I guess it does. You don't know what cards you have, but it doesn't
Right,
tell you.
It doesn't know which items you're
Right.
carrying.
So you do. I mean, it's like 50-50. But I think to take it full 100% to the tablet would. I don't know. That would. I don't know. We'll have to see. Most games like this most games like this don't get good reviews, and they don't see the
cult class. If you love the board game, I'm gonna buy this just for the.
It probably.
Heck of
Do you
it.
remember when we purchased Lost, the video game?
Right.
Then we were highly disappointed, but like it was fun to play as the characters and see it. But it would have been better suited as a rental, as a weekend fun time type of thing. I have a feeling that's what this is going to be, because part of unless and this is where this is a big unless. If they can mimic the same things that the board game has, where it's the randomized rooms, if they can mimic that, which would still fit the same mold as the old school Resident Evil, because old school Resident Evil, when you'd come up to a door and open it up, it would cut to a black screen. It would show you like a door opening up. So they have that cookie cutter mold ready to go. But if it's all like not open world, but if the mansion's pre-constructed or whatever, then they've already lost a really big portion of what the board game was about. So it's kind of one of those things where you just have to see. It's due out. It looks like it's due out on Steam the first quarter in 2019. So not too far off. So that's Mansions of Madness: Mother's Embrace.
Okay.
So. On a side note, coming another expansion for the board game itself, which I'm really excited about. It came out yesterday. Yesterday? Yes, yesterday. So that's let's see, what is it? Sanctum of Twilight. So that came out yesterday. It looks like you get a couple of playable characters, a new enemy, and also some new mechanics and things like that, and items, and a whole new environment to play in. So looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
No, not so much.
No, I'm just reading the description. I'm sorry.
You can read out loud if you'd like.
Okay.
Instead of like, I'm gonna hold on one second. Let me read this, guys.
Well, no, I mean you were talking, so I
go
wasn't
ahead. You're good.
Interrupt
You're good.
you. No, it was just. I mean, it says within the lavish rooms of the Silver Twilight Lodge, the most influential citizens of Arkham gather to forge business alliances, plan parades, and lobby politicians. In secret, they also meet to enact forbidden rituals with dark consequences, which is kind of funny because it seems like most of we've only played through 2 scenarios so far.
Right.
And then just reading about this particular scenario, it seems like all the stories have to do with rituals. I
have a feeling if we were to read, because it's talking about this Arkham, this city Arkham, I have a sneaky suspicion if we were to read a little bit further into the actual lore of because there's other games that aren't this, they're in this universe that aren't the Mansions of Madness.
Right.
There's a couple card games, there's a couple miniature games and things like that. I have a feeling if we were to read into lore, we'd find out very quickly that this is it's kind of like Gotham City, right? Where Gotham has for some odd reason, has this super high crime rate and these superhuman villains that are all tucked away within this one city. Where do all these bad guys come from? You know what I mean?
It says this expansion immerses players in the Arkham Files universe.
Right. So yeah, I think if you were to dig into the actual lore of the Arkham Files, which I would kind of be interested to see, because it seems like there's a lot of dark magic, cultist. It's funny that they say that their forged business alliance is planned parades. Yay, parades! And then lobby politicians, but we also do some dark rituals and sacrificial religious acts and
right.
But that's just no hush hush.
Yeah.
So, but it's exciting. We got a new expansion coming out for a game that we just started getting into. So.
Now it says it has new mechanics, which would be interesting too. Because there's new spells, items, mechanics.
Right.
So that would be interesting to see what that means, and a new monster.
A new monster.
Yeah, just one.
Just uno monster. So, Mansions of Madness. All right, so let's switch gears here. So here's the next thing. So this is this is hilarious. So searching the web, trying to find something to talk about, something fun to talk about, and I'm contemplating purchasing the full game of Fortnite, like the single player, because Ducky has been on me like crazy to purchase it. She says it's a lot of fun, and I'm like, no, I really like the battle royale. It's free. I like free.
Free is good.
Free is very good. But at any rate, came across this website called Super Parent. Apparently, it's for parents that are gamers and kids that, for parents that have gamer kids or whatever. But this evil game, Fortnite, schools are worried, like flat out worried.
One UK school.
One UK school is
one UK school.
Well, no. You're stretching my words here.
That's what it says down there.
Right.
One UK school.
One UK school took action against the popular game, and released a statement in their weekly newsletter to their parents. So the statement reads, "We have been notified about a number of concerns relating a free online game called Fortnite, mainly played on game consoles. Concerns related to its lack of security, enabling others to hack into home computers, and its format leading to children becoming addicted, leading to unhealthy." Basically, it's telling the reader, if you're not educated on the game, that this is a way for people to hack into your home systems and get all your private information, and it's gone. On top of it, it's a very violent video game.
They never said anything about violence in there. They said that its format's going to get your kid addicted and increase screen time, which is not good for them.
I understand that.
Okay. Nowhere on there does it say anything about violence.
Well, it is a violent video game.
That's what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But the school didn't tell the parents anything about it being a violent video game right there.
Well, right, but what I'm saying, it is a violent video game, so parents should be aware of the game itself. But this is the whole article part about, or the whole part about the lack of security, and it's leading children to their systems being hacked and things like that. That's just not true. Like if they give away private information, like if the phishing emails and stuff like that, like someone says, hey, you give me your password and I'll give you a whole bunch of free coins or whatever, and they download your profile to their Xbox, and then they charge up your credit card with a whole bunch of things, and that's on them. That has nothing to do with Fortnite. That will happen, but that happens in every game, not just Fortnite.
The particular statement about enabling others to hack into your home computers is not
right. Right. That's false. Very, very false. Unhealthy increases in screen time. Now that I think is on the parents to understand, and like for the parents to kind of
any game that any kid can get addicted to, really any game.
Right. Agreed.
It's not particular. It's not just Fortnite alone that kids get. Heck, Eli with Roblox or Minecraft or any of those.
Burnout Paradise at one point in time.
Right.
Pokemon Go.
Right. Any of those are addictive to kids. Particularly kids like anything with screen time, but you think, Pokemon Go, okay. Kids like collecting crap. That's
well, and how many times do we find Eli just looking through his Pokedex?
Yeah, just to see what's on there.
Right,
memorizing the sounds of the Pokemon.
Memorizing the sounds, memorizing their CP, memorizing what kind of Pokemons he has, and comparing them to what we have.
Right. Anything where you can collect stuff and compare to what others have is that much more, I won't say enjoyable, but.
But the website, the super parents, they do go through and put in their take and stuff like that, kind of debunking a couple things, talking about it's a free online game, so you can't really combat that kind of thing, like where with pay to play or $60 full-fledged titles, those are a little bit easier for parents to control because you have to go out and purchase it. Whereas with like Fortnite, if you have an iPhone, you can just download it and play it for free.
Right.
So you might, if you have a young child that doesn't have that has a phone, they might already be playing it without you knowing it. So it's one of those things where as a parent of a gamer, you need to be cautious of those things. I don't necessarily think you need to take them away, but on the other thing I find hilarious, and they've got their website set up like this is the best part about this website is they've got these related items alongside here. Of course, they're all related to battle
Fortnite.
royale on Fortnite. So the second related item is, well, first one, it tells you what is battle royale game. What is a battle royale game? So it kind of educates the viewer or the reader, or whatever. That's amazing. And then it goes in. Kids are now asking other kids to prom via Fortnite. Like they're building like prom proposals in the game through the game's building structure. That is super creative.
It is creative.
When you think about the game,
Yeah.
and for those of you that don't know what the game is, this is an online game where you are playing against other people, and there's 100 people in one map trying to kill each other. Right? You've got the options to build things and things like that, and
so you can take cover. Basically, is what it used for.
So you can take cover, and like people are building prom ? Like that's so creative, and like how many times does that person have to go through to build that before they got shot? Like that's amazing. And it looks like this guy did it with like on a team of 2. Like he had 2 players playing with him. So that's funny.
And I'm sorry. Side note here. I can't even say the stupid word.
Promposal.
I think is the most ridiculous idea I have ever heard. Honestly.
Well,
and
promposal, that's you're talking about the actual spending money part of it.
I mean, well, there was never a word for it. It was just like, yeah, did you get asked to prom? Yeah, sure,
right.
I'm going with so and so.
Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't a big deal, you know. If you had a significant boyfriend or girlfriend.
Wasn't a big deal
No,
to go to prom?
you just went. I mean,
You don't think it was a big deal that you got asked to prom? Really?
senior year, I just went with my boyfriend. I mean, it was just like an assumption. I mean, you just go with your boyfriend or girlfriend.
Okay.
All my other dances, I always ask the guy.
Okay.
I didn't want to not get asked, so I'm just like,
Like,
I'm just gonna take advantage.
Going with
I'm
me.
just gonna find a guy and be like, hey, you want to go to prom? And that's pretty much what it was. I mean, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't really anybody that I was romantically linked up with. It was just kind of like a, hey, I need to go to prom. You don't have a girlfriend. You want to date? Sure, let's go together. Like.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what they were. So, but the idea of a promposal, making it all like
writing in the sky.
And
Will
then,
you go to prom?
And and then like I was telling you before we got to the show that so our local radio station has impossible questions in the morning. It's just a trivia kind of question. And the question was something along the lines of teenagers are spending on average $300 on this.
300 on
in the
prom
spring.
proposal. Oh, yeah. 300, that was the question.
Right. And it was promposals on average. So there's people spending more than that. There's people spending less than that, obviously.
Right.
But I'm telling you, if one of our kids ever comes up to us and says, hey, I want to spend X amount of dollars, I'm like, no, you can walk up there and talk to her face to face and say, hey, you want to go to prom? That's
or
it.
you can
It's
get
free.
a job. Or you can get a job.
No, they're not wasting their money on something like that. That's
If
ridiculous.
it's something that's important to them, then why wouldn't you let them? If you're not paying for it, if they're using their hard-earned money, I mean,
then I'm going to tell them what is something that's valuable. It is not valuable to be buying somebody's a Skywriter to no.
well, I mean, not necessarily.
Like,
that's probably the extreme portion of it. I mean,
if they want to spend $10 to make some note cards to ask this girl or something, I don't care. But
ghetto.
a vinyl T-shirt for $30, I don't. But
We'll tell you what. We'll save our old outlines, and Eli can write on the back of those. Will you go to prom with me? Never mind the outline from 10 years ago.
come on, and maybe if I was a girl growing up at this point. Like, if a teenager.
Maybe that's the norm now. Maybe because
girls have come to expect too much. Then, if that's
exactly
what
okay, you're onto something there because you said when you were in that type of mind frame, it was just if you were dating someone, it was just assumed, right? Do kids date nowadays?
I would think so.
I don't know.
I don't think that much has changed. We're not that
there,
old.
We're not there yet, so I don't know. We're kind of in that in between step, so I don't know. I mean,
we may be old,
kids
but
are
we're not
swingers
that
now, right?
far out, right? I mean, but
mid-30s. I mean,
shut up.
I don't know. I don't know.
Shut up.
I don't know. No cards. Laugh out loud.
Listen. If they're spending that kind of money to ask a girl to prom, then they don't value money.
Maybe they value the girl more than the money. I'm just saying. I'm just
No,
saying. I'm just
no,
saying. I'm just
no,
saying.
it's not worth it.
So what about a marriage proposal then? Can I just propose on a note card for that?
Okay, there's a difference between asking somebody to spend their life with you versus going to a dance.
50% of marriages end nowadays, so I'm just
You're
just
getting in deep
I'm
this
just-
time.
I'm just
Anyway,
kidding, I'm just
sorry,
kidding.
that was a total sidebar there.
So the other
But,
thing I wanted to mention too about this website that I found ironic. It's not ironic because they built this website so that the related stuff would pop up. But the third article is about new game news around parents say that Fortnite is boosting their kids' social lives. Imagine that. Social activity on a video game actually doing some good.
I want to know if these parents are playing the games. Like, are they gamers as well?
I don't know. Let's click
Like, I
on the-
wonder what parents they are actually.
I don't know. We'll have to dig into it a little bit deeper. We won't do that live. So
Yeah, I just want to know
Text-
who they're polling.
Golden Age Gamer says, "Text the proposal. Laugh out loud."
Sure, hell, why not?
I mean,
I don't understand I don't understand making the big deal out of it. I really don't. It's just a dance. I mean,
it's just a dance. You can dance if you want to.
I just.
Oh, now
I
we
guess,
just got this flagged.
I guess it just really puts me.
It is, in my
really
opinion, it is a waste of money. It is a huge waste of money. But if the kid is paying for it, then if that's something he wants to do, I mean, like,
then you need to teach him the value of money.
okay, all right. Well, that's where we differ. If that's where he wants to spend his money, then who am I to say no? As long as he's saving, if he's saving some of it, I can't really stop him. He's going to spend money one way or the other.
I mean, you probably got your high school girlfriends like Christmas presents and birthday presents and stuff like that.
Yep.
But were you spending $300 on Christmas or birthday?
Probably not individually, but I mean over the course of the year, probably about $300.
Okay.
I mean, if you
So
take into account like taking to like, because usually if you like for birthdays or whatever, you'd usually go out to a dinner and a movie. So right there is at least $50, maybe more.
Not that.
You don't think so? Dinner and a movie for two?
Maybe.
I mean, you're like thinking like $20 for the
Movies
movie.
were cheaper.
Yeah, about $8, $7. I don't know. We're arguing semantics now.
Right.
So I don't know. Anyway,
Right. Okay, so we're being told it's a once in a lifetime night. Go out. Okay, that's fine. Go out. Spend the money on your dress, your tux, the actual night if you want to, but the asking to go, I mean, what if she turns you down? Dude, like, that's some serious hardcore turn down. And it's a lot of pressure on the girl to turn a guy down who spent $300 to ask you to go to a dance.
well, maybe she shouldn't turn him down then.
Maybe she should.
Oh my god. Anyway, all right. I digress. Let's move on. Can we move on? Are we good?
I have very strong opinions about
Apparently
this.
you do. I mean, if we want to continue to talk about this, by all means, go for it. But
All right.
all right. So next up, let's talk a little bit about Call of Duty. Activision announced today that they are not going to be including. Find another date. They're not going to be including a traditional single player campaign in the new Black Ops 4. Right? This is I think Polygon was the original one that posted this. It's still technically a rumor, but because nobody will actually collaborate this, they just we have two sources that are telling this story. One was within was it Treyarch that does the Black Ops? Yeah, I think it's Treyarch, and then one that worked on it prior. No longer is on the actual job itself or project itself. However, even though so it says here, Black Ops 4 won't include a traditional single player story mode according to sources with knowledge of the game's project status. The shift in creative direction will make Black Ops 4 the first mainline Call of Duty to ship without a standard campaign. Now, one of the interesting things that they talk about, I think they talked about it in the Kotaku report, because Kotaku took a little bit different stance on it. And they talked about how oh god, it wasn't. Was it Infinity Ward? Activision released a re-release of Modern Warfare, just the multiplayer, and it was about the same time that the World War II game came out, and basically the difference in sales really kind of set some waves in the community. Also set off, probably started this whole conversation here about how single player campaigns, while they take a lot of time, very rarely get finished. There was, I can't remember. There's a report during the 360 era where, and you probably can dig into it even further now with the achievements and like seeing how many achievements been unlocked by your friends and stuff like that. But like the unlocked achievements like that you get after you finish each level, like it just drops off dramatically once you hit, like, I think it was like once you hit like 5 or 10 hours into the game, like it just drops to zero. So that, so I've always been, and I'm pretty sure that I've gone on the show and said that if they ever split the two apart, like, and sell like, the multiplayer for $35 and the single player for $35, I would probably buy Black Ops and Call of Duty every year. If just the multiplayer, because I'm not really big into the single player. Like, you can rent that and get through that in a weekend or whatever. But in my opinion, like, they would never do that because they'd be losing out on sales. So instead of getting full $60, $70, they would only be getting $35. So they would never do that. But it looks like they might. Unless they're just planning on releasing the multiplayer, just the multiplayer for $60 and that's it. So they did mention in here that they're going to be releasing a battle royale version too. So you're going to have some battle royale. You're some Fortnite and PUBG in your Black Ops. So
right.
You kind of sad. Are you sad by no single player? I mean,
I haven't played. I played a couple of.
We played Modern Warfare 2 quite a bit.
Yeah,
that was the one that had the plane outside.
I don't remember anymore. It's been so long, but I know I played the story mode on a couple of them too at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's been years ago, and I don't have time to be.
Modern Warfare had that. Modern Warfare had that really iconic. I don't want to say iconic. Had that. What's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember what the word what's the word I'm looking for? When something's not popular, I can't think of it right now. Anyway, it was the No Russia level where you played as the terrorist walking through
the airport
and gunning down all the civilians.
Didn't they say you could skip it?
Yeah, they gave you the option to skip it, but I mean, nobody
controversial.
Did. Controversial, thank you. Very controversial level. But at any rate, I don't know. It's kind of it's up to Activision. Ultimately, they're the ones that are publishing the game, and if they're reporting and their information that they've gathered from their past releases shows them like, hey, this isn't what our gamers want. They don't play it. If we can release episodic content for people to enjoy and get more money out of that, then why not? So, I mean, I'm the same way with the sports games too. Like, I'd play more sports games, or I would play sports games if I didn't have to buy a new one every year. Like, just sell me a game for $90, and then every year patch the rosters or whatever.
I don't know.
So, I don't know. And then maybe every console release set out a new title or whatever. So, I mean, games nowadays you can update graphics, you can update. Take things in and out. You can update UI, all that good stuff. I don't know. Heck, even the last talk about updating the game. I think it was the last basketball game. I think it was the last NBA Live game or 2K game, not NBA Live, NBA 2K game. That, like, if a player got injured or a player had a breakout game or whatever, its stats would change within the game. Golden Age Gamer can talk on that a little bit because he's huge into sports games. But I'm pretty sure that was 2K that does that. So yeah. All right. So that's all I've got as far as non-spoilery stuff. Do you have anything else that you want to chit chat about?
I don't think so.
All right, guys. Well, we are going to talk about Walking Dead spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet, now would be the time to vamoose. We will be spoiling the season finale of Walking Dead and the season premiere of Fear the Walking Dead. Make sure you head over to our YouTube channel before you close out, youtube.com/72DPI online. Get subscribed, leave us a comment. Do me a huge favor, share the channel, share the video on your social networking sites. I greatly appreciate it. We greatly appreciate it. Just
So I'm not just sitting here talking to ourselves for.
You're talking to me.
I said ourselves. So we're not just sitting here talking to ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
We got Cliff here. Cliff's here.
Hi, Cliff.
And Kathy and Ruth, they're in Facebook chat.
Yeah.
So
Doug, Adam,
right.
Colleen.
So
Yay.
Thanks for everybody for watching. All right. So you've been warned. Let's talk about some spoilers.
Okay.
Do you want to start us off?
All right. Well, it's been a couple weeks since I've been here, but I think we're just going to go over the most recent episodes so that we're not trying to figure out what we missed previously.
I already talked about episode 14 and 15, so we are caught up.
All right.
Everyone is caught up except for you. What's up, Austin?
All right. So, Fear the Walking Dead.
Walking Dead first.
Season 8.
Yep.
Just ended.
Yep.
Which I'm so sad. Having the season split up into like A and B. I know that's a fairly recent thing. I don't think they used to do that when we were younger. They'd run
season finale.
Yeah, they'd run a season and that would be that, and you'd have off season. And now they have these seasons that are 16 episodes, and you have 8 weeks, and then you're off, and then you're on another 8, and it makes it seem so short. It feels like we just came back from being off of watching Walking Dead, and now we have to wait again till October usually is when they come back.
Oh God, yeah, you're right.
And so it just seems like forever. But at any rate, this was the end of the all-out war story arc. So that's the section in the comics and in the show here, I guess, where they were fighting against Negan's group. They had told us ahead of time that this was going to be coming to a head and ending this story. So neither of us have read the comics. You've read some of them, but not up to this point.
Right.
I do kind of read some spoilery stuff, like in the Walking Dead wiki, to kind of compare where we are in the comics. It would be neat to read. I just am not a good comic reader.
Neither am I.
Like novels.
Neither was I until I actually kind of sat down and forced myself to read with reading with Eli at night, reading those Spider-Man comics.
Right. That
That has helped out tremendously.
See, if they were in novel form, I'd be all for it, but
yeah, they're just written in a way that you would never be able to do that, because it would be like Spider-Man says this, Mary Jane says this, Spider-Link says this, and it would just be so
written in a novel format.
Right. No, I know that, but like if you were to just to take the text from a comic book and splat and copy paste
Right.
it wouldn't
No,
translate
no.
well at all.
No.
The thing would be like 400 pages long to get through a single episode, because it would
Yeah.
just be like couple word sentences over and over and over again. Anyway, continue.
Anyway, so now I'm trying to remember what happened.
I got it written down right here.
Okay. Anyway, we opened up with the little flashback. Obviously, last episode, I believe, Rick finally read Carl's letter.
Right.
And Carl, was talking to him about, I remember, walking down and seeing the cow, and I remember Mom doing this, and, things can go back to these simple...
Pizza Friday.
Right. Simple things, simple way of life that we had before, and I know you can help get things back that way. And so we have a little flashback of Rick holding little Carl's hand, walking down by the cows, and Rick's kind of writing back. I don't know that he's physically writing, but talking back and replying back to the letter.
I hope he is writing back, because that would be an I don't know if he does that in the comic or whatever, but that would be an interesting conversation Because I mean, it would only be one-sided,
Yeah.
but that would be an interesting way to tell kind of like what's going on in his mind.
Mm-hmm.
I would like that.
Well, and he said, I forget what were the words exactly that he said at the beginning, but he was talking back to Carl.
Mm-hmm. It said,
He's
"Dear
like,
Carl."
Yeah.
And then at the end he said, "Dad."
Yeah. So, you see that he's, I guess they use that kind of to show you that he's mulling over. Like he really is thinking about, what Carl said.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's hitting home with him.
Right.
But we also know that Negan's figured out that Dwight's the traitor.
Yep.
And we know that it's like, we know that he knows that so
right, there's a lot of
all this like double crossing and stuff was going on. So at the
cross.
beginning of, or at the end of the last episode, Dwight gets Negan's plans to Gregory to take back to our group at the hilltop.
Right.
However, at the time that Negan made those plans, he knew that Dwight was the informer and would probably take them back to Rick.
Right.
So we find out that those plans are...
It's kind of a setup. It's a trap.
Right. It is a trap. So at the beginning of this episode, you see Negan sending a group out to a meeting place with a map in their pocket of where Negan will be. So this group is like, okay, well, we're going to go here and then we'll meet you here. This is what's
right.
going
These
down.
are follow-up plans. Make sure you keep them on you.
Right.
He's like, oh, we're going to get this taken care of today. And he's like, yes, you will.
Right.
Like he knows he's sending them to their death.
And at the same point, we see Eugene, who's completed his bullet order, give a gun to Negan and say, here, test a few rounds of this ammunition that we made. It's really good ammo. And
you hear there's I don't know if the conversation was before or after that, but there is an interesting interaction between Negan and Eugene where Negan's like, this is going to get messy. Are you sure you're ready? He's not his exact words. He's basically saying, these are your friends.
Oh, it was during this point,
right?
Because he's like, I'm going to go and I want to.
Right, it was either right. It was either right before or right after. But either way, he's Negan shows some humility and was like, hey, this is going to get ugly. We are going to kill them. Are you sure you're ready for this? And he says, without a doubt, like no hesitation, like, and it's believable. Like I was like, yes, I'm all for this. Like I want Eugene to be Negan's right hand man.
And I did not. I was still rooting for some redemption for Eugene. Which I even, whether for watching it, I'm like, oh, I really hope that XYZ happens, and it did.
Right. And so let's go ahead and let's talk about that. So
we're not quite there
yet.
Okay.
I'm just so excited.
I know. So we see Rick go and ambush this group that is right where Dwight's plan said they were going to be. Mm-hmm. So it was partly a trap. So they go, they kill him, and they find the map.
Right.
This new map contradicts what Dwight's map said.
Right.
And so Negan planted it there as yet another trap.
Right.
As he's a smart guy. He says they're not going to necessarily trust what Dwight sends them.
Right.
Because it's coming with Gregory, and they don't trust Gregory.
Right. But they don't know who this is, and they
right.
Yeah.
So I'll plant another false map on these people,
right? Walking them,
and they're going to believe that they got the right thing now,
right?
And they did. They walked right into it.
They're like walking down like this valley, like completely exposed.
Yeah. Well, they're up on this hill.
No, Negan's people were up on the hill, but Rick and his guys.
They look off of the hill and see that huge horde.
That was way behind them. They're like walking up. They're walking up this hill.
Oh, I guess I was
like
not...
behind them. There's like that huge horde or whatever. But they're walking. They're walking up, and that's where Negan's guys are just like they just pop out.
They form a line,
yeah.
Right? And Negan's on the loudspeaker.
Which that I just remembered that was Eugene's plan. Part of Eugene's plan is single. What I'm thinking. What he said. He Eugenified it. Form single line to eliminate friendly fire as much as possible. That was all Eugene's plan.
Was it?
To like kind of form a single file line like around.
So needless to say, our group is. I think they had fear, like a good sheer panic there for a minute. I think they realized that, hey, we're outnumbered.
Mm-hmm.
They're at an advantage.
Oh yeah, they got the height advantage for
right,
sure.
like, what the heck are we gonna do? And they go to fire, and all of a sudden, all the weapons backfire on them.
Right.
And instantly, we knew that was Eugene's doing because
Father Gabriel
was attempting to do something similar, attempting to make faulty bullets.
Right.
He didn't know exactly what was going to happen with
right.
them.
He just didn't want them to fire.
Right. So he was making, and I guess that sparked Eugene's thought process. I when they lined up, I said, "Oh, I hope Eugene did something to the bullets."
Right.
And you're like, "I hope he did."
I hope not either, because my thought process is our heroes, or our group, Rick's group, I should say, is not all that it's cracked up to be. Like, he is a douchebag. Like, when the episode 13 or 14 or whatever, 14 or 15, whichever one it was, where he gave his word that he wasn't going to
people in the bar,
to the people in the bar, that he wasn't going to kill them, and they went out on a limb and even saved their. I mean, they could have left them tied to the floor.
Yeah. And
they would have been killed. But they saved them, and Rick turns around and murders all of them.
Yeah, that was pretty crappy.
And to me, that is just, I don't know if it's out of character, because Rick, I don't know why Rick hates Negan so much. Like, he's not the cause of his son's death.
Well, and we even at the beginning of this episode, Morgan comes to Rick and says, "We're worse than we were."
Right. What you did to those people back there, like making exact that was wrong. Like,
we needed, but he does say it needed to be done. You did what you needed to do, but it wasn't right.
Exactly. But I don't know. I really wish, and kind of going back to the Eugene thing, I wanted Eugene to be kind of like the Morgan between the two groups, kind of like Morgan is going between the two shows, and kind of show that, hey, if you're not happy with who you're with and you've got opportunity elsewhere, like, and I truly think that Negan was growing attached to Eugene. Like, kind of, I mean, you saw it, like, when he tested out the gun. He gave Lucille to Eugene and then turned his back to Eugene.
Yeah.
And Eugene didn't even just flinch. He didn't ask him to hold it. He just like, all right, let's try it out. Like, I was like, oh my God, he just handed over the bat. Like,
yeah.
So to me, like, he trusted him.
Implicitly.
Like, that was huge. Mm-hmm. Huge character development for Negan. Like, that's something that you don't see ever.
Negan's hand also got damaged when
his baton hand, as you call it.
His bat hand.
His baton hand.
I'd say baton hand, just bat.
I'm just making fun. I'm adding some southern twang to it. Okay. Baton hand.
Was damaged, and he runs off. He manages to run off at first, while our group takes down, I think, most of Negan's guys there.
Right. Mostly they shoot. They take out a bunch of them, and then there's another group that kind of says, "Okay, we've had enough." And they kneel down, including the one chick that was one of his generals.
Yeah,
or higher up, I guess.
She's the one who turned in Dwight.
Oh yeah.
So I don't trust her further than I can throw her.
Right. So they don't end up killing them.
No, they don't. They've got their hands up, and they're basically watching Rick. Maggie's there, Michonne is there, and they're watching Rick and Negan have a confrontation. And even with his injured hand, Negan beats Rick. Mm-hmm. He's got him pretty much down, he thinks.
Right.
Rick is the tree with the stained glass windows that we've been seeing in this whole season. This whole season, in some flashes. And Negan says, "I'm stronger,
right?
And I've got a bat."
Right.
At this point, he was out of bullets, I think.
Right.
Didn't have a weapon. And he's like, "This is the end of the line for you." And I think Negan sees his people kind of come down. He kind of stops for a minute, and here's where the broken stained glass window comes into play. I think that's what he had was
Mm-hmm.
a piece of that glass.
Mm-hmm.
He lunges basically and slits Negan's throat. Right.
Right. Well, before that, Rick begs for a truce because he's on his knees, begs for his truce, and Negan. Like at this point, they're probably about 10, 15 feet away from each other, and Rick stands up and says for Carl,
Yeah.
and then Negan's like, "You got 10 seconds," and Rick, Carl wanted this, Carl, blah blah blah, and Negan's still counting down, and he kind of gets real close to him, and then that's where
right.
he kind of like slits
his
throat, which I thought he killed him.
I did too.
Like that was a pretty deep cut, and then
Negan says Carl, the kid didn't know anything or something like that.
Right? Yeah. But then Rick turns around and tells whatever the one dude that Carl saved. I can never remember his name. I even tried looking it up. I couldn't find it. Is it Azir or something like that? Or
I have no idea.
I don't know. It says save him.
Right.
And that's where Maggie just bursts. She just loses it.
Yeah.
And Michonne has to hold her back, and she's screaming and hollering on, like, it's not finished till he's dead. He has to die. This is not how it's supposed to end, blah, blah, blah. And Sadiq, that's what it is. And then Rick kind of gives his little victory speech of how, we can work together. Negan, the way he's running things is over. We're going to work together. And if you've got a problem with that, you're going to answer to us.
They alluded to the fact because you can see the huge horde in the distance. He's like, things are changing.
Right.
That's going to change. Like this whole world is changing, and how we need to operate is going to have to change.
Right.
Maybe alluding to the fact that more horde means more. Maybe we'll see more zombies the next episode. More danger coming from the zombies and from the horde.
You got to think, like, as people die, and as zombies kind of move about and come into contact with each other, then they start to form hordes. So eventually, it's just going to be
one mass,
one giant. Maybe not one giant mass, but the hordes are just going to get collectively bigger and bigger and bigger once the stragglers kind of fall in line or whatever.
Yeah, unless they can somehow take them out.
Right.
Yeah.
Push them into the ocean.
Well, they still are down there, though.
Right.
But
so while that was going on, we did see a brief snippet of Oceanside people helping.
Yes, that was awesome.
Helping the people that were left back at Alexandria that did not go to fight Negan.
Hilltop.
Hilltop.
So Tara and some of the saviors.
The saviors that stayed behind or whatever.
That were captured.
Yeah, so they escaped or whatever, and then the Oceanside people brought Molotov cocktails, and because they didn't have,
they threw fire.
Yeah, so they didn't have any guns, but they, so good job, Aaron.
Yeah, that was exciting to see them.
Way to almost die.
Yeah, that was exciting to see that.
And then at the very end, which is a huge controversy, which I'm kind of curious to see if this happened. Well, I don't know if it's possible to happen in the comics. I don't know. I'd be curious to see if this type of like fellowship, almost like conspiracy, like
right.
Small group, small council.
So Negan is alive.
Yep, Negan's alive.
And you see Michonne and Rick talking to him about how things are going to be. He does try to talk a little bit. And they're like, no, you're going to listen.
Time for talk is over.
Yeah, you're going to go rot in a cell as kind of like a warning. Like, this is how things are going to be now. We're not killing, we're not fighting to the death anymore. But if you don't follow the rules...
And they pretty much said that we're going to make an example of you. You're going to be an example of how you do things is not the only possible way. You can do them this way as well without the killing, the murdering, and all that stuff.
Right. But Rick and Michonne were really, they were the only two people in there on that.
I think Sadiq was in there with them.
Right.
Yeah.
But
because Michonne like grabbed him by the throat, and Sadiq's like, no, you don't.
Right.
No.
And Rick's like, he can bleed a little bit.
Yeah, we can bleed. Let's open his stitches up. Like, no, dude, come on, man. Like,
yeah, that was pretty rough.
The man's chained to a bed.
Yeah, but then you see very like Godfather
right.
like Maggie sitting behind the desk, and the lighting's totally different. In the hospital bed, it's all very white. It's all
bright.
light around them. It was very bright.
Yes.
and then you go to the room where Maggie is, and it's basically, I think, the room where, like, the office.
It's the mayor's office.
Right. And it's very dark, heavily shadowed, contrasty,
Right.
very,
Not a lot of movement. Everything is very, like,
yeah,
still.
very
And
black
it's her,
shadows,
yeah,
dark.
her sitting behind the desk and talking to Jesus, right?
Yep.
And we should preface this before we get into this. Jesus, when before the interaction with Negan and our group, the ambush, Jesus was talking to Morgan about how to conceal or subdue his urge to kill living people.
Right.
So he talked
use the blunt end for
the
people
living and the sharp end for the
zombies.
dead. So Jesus was clearly trying to save people.
And he took the savior hostages. Their goal, they were supposed to go in and kill all the saviors that they met, and he didn't. He took them
Right.
all because they surrendered. He took them back, and
Right.
and they
Anyway,
created a
I didn't mean
prison.
to interrupt. I just thought that was a huge, important point that we needed to put across there.
Right. So we see Maggie talking to Jesus and talking about how Rick had no right in keeping Negan alive,
Right.
and how they're wrong, and how she's going to make him pay.
Yep.
And Jesus is going along with it, which I really don't
That's
understand.
I think that's way out of character for him.
Yeah, it
makes
doesn't
him-
make sense to me. I mean, I know he and Maggie have kind of, I feel like they've been at odds, but they've had more of a relationship than he and Rick, really. I mean, they haven't really talked at all.
This scene really made him look like a puppet, like a flat out puppet. Like, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. Like that's what we're gonna do. Like, I don't see his character, and I would believe Rosita in that chair before I'd believe Jesus in that conversation.
She had more hatred. Yeah, I haven't seen a reason for Jesus to have a lot of hatred over Negan.
Right. That's strange.
It's
Unless
very strange.
unless there's some backstory that we don't know, but I don't see that. I don't see that coming. I mean, how can you have that backstory but still try to talk people out of, like the Morgans and
But
people?
didn't he? I mean, he was the one that brought them to Hilltop to begin with.
Right.
Hilltop was the one who told them to go fight Negan.
Or was that Aaron? No, Aaron.
Aaron came from Alexandria.
Oh, that's right. Aaron brought them to Alexandria because they captured Aaron in that one barn or whatever, like in season 6 or whatever. But yeah, they did meet Jesus, and he's the one that did. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
So maybe he's had something with Negan all along and been the one to, because when they first came, the very first interaction they had, I believe, at Hilltop was when Negan's guys, was it when they came in and there was an altercation and they ended up with a knife. Remember, Rick comes in and tries to stop somebody from killing.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm wondering how much, now that I'm thinking back on that, and it may be something interesting to go back and watch, how much Jesus had in telling them to go fight Negan that very, very first time.
Right. I don't know. It just seemed out of character.
It did.
It's very rarely do you see like such a twist in a character's positioning within one episode. Like one in the same episode, you've got him telling people to keep even the living, no matter how much hate we have, keep them alive. Whoa. And then at the same time, like, all right, we're gonna backstab our group because we don't like the decision they made to keep them alive.
Yeah. Then
So-
again, we honestly haven't seen that much. Jesus is kind of a mysterious character. We really haven't seen him a whole heck of a lot.
Right.
So while they're having this conversation, you hear someone in the background agree to the plan, and it was Daryl,
Right.
which kills me because he and Rick are like, I mean, they were
Bromance.
like, right. So it kills me that he's ready to just totally
And-
betray Rick like that.
Right, and that's another thing, kind of along the same lines of Jesus. Like you just had Daryl in the exact same episode let Dwight go. Right? He's like, I mean, he threatened him. He's like, if you ever come around again, I'll kill you. I'm like, okay, great, but you're still you're giving the man a truck and letting him go, and you give two shits about him because you do make reference to his wife, who is, he's like, go find her.
Which the wife, I think Dwight told Daryl that his wife is the one that let him out of the prison to begin with.
Right, but
At
at the end of the day,
Sanctuary.
like, you've got these two characters that I don't think should be in this conversation. Like, I think it would be. I personally would think that it would make for an interesting storyline, internal turmoil with Maggie by herself trying to play on that, because we all this whole season we've been seeing. Oh, Maggie's great. Maggie's this. She's a way better leader for Hilltop than Gregory, which a pile of dirt would be way better at
Right.
running the show. So, like, having that inner turmoil with her character, I think would almost make for better television than a secret council group of people that don't. I mean, Daryl, I can kind of see, but, like, you just showed us a scene where he was letting.
Which he went against earlier this season against Rick's wishes and drove the bus into the side of Sanctuary to let the zombies in. That wasn't the plan.
Right.
So he already went away from Rick's plan
Once.
on his own motives once.
Well, our whole group has done
and
that.
it didn't go well.
Right.
And so I think I had thought that he felt
Remorse about it, absolutely.
Yes.
They even had that interaction within Hilltop. He's like, I just want to apologize. He apologized, I think, while Rick was at the gravesite with all the dead people.
Oh, I thought he was apologizing. Well, was it for that or was it for Carl? I'd have to go back and look.
I have to go back and look. I'm
Watch
almost
again.
positive. Maybe he did it. Maybe he apologized twice, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
But regardless, to me it seemed like he felt bad for deviating from Rick's original plan with the zombies at Sanctuary. And to do this so soon after Carl has just died too.
Right, Carl's been dead for less than a week.
They've grown as a family. I mean, Daryl and Rick have been together since season 1.
Mm-hmm.
Maggie came in at season 3? I think
Season 3
2
or 2.
or 3.
Yeah, the farm. She was on the farm.
Yeah.
So that must have been season 2.
I think it's season 2.
I think season 3 was the
but I mean, for most of the apocalypse, these guys have been together,
right,
and have seemed to care for each other like family in most circumstances.
right. But she's got a plan. Maggie's got a plan because she talks about it. During this conversation, she's like, "We need to build up our fortress. We need to be able to take on.
Right, we got to be strong.
We got to be stronger. We need to be able to take on
Which is
assaults
good.
like this. It's great." But she's and then we'll find a time to strike. So they're gonna use these characters and use these people, and then they're gonna try and backstab them. And I just don't feel like that's. I mean, I know her husband was just her fiance, whatever you want to call it, was just murdered less than a month ago, but. I don't know.
Very brutally in front of her.
Right, very brutally in front of her. But
he-
then again, Rick just lost. I mean, Rick didn't lose his son to Negan, so that might be the connecting piece. Like, if someone murdered
Right.
you, I would be wanting vengeance.
But Rick was really close with Glenn too.
Yeah. Again,
And Glenn would not have
Glenn was the one that saved Rick.
right.
So
And Glenn would not have wanted her to do anything to Rick about like this. I mean,
Right.
he would have been the voice of reason, and
right.
and
And the other thing too that I wrote down is Maggie, Jesus, and Daryl also put Michonne in this pit.
because she held
I
Maggie
guess
back
because she
during
was holding Maggie back.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. So maybe should she be pissed off at Sadiq too because he's the one that saved her and whoever was holding him down.
Yeah.
She's got a hit list. So speculation here. We know thanks to it's up on. Wait, no, it was. Oh, it's right here. So I bought this comic thinking it was going to give me some backstory about the governor, but instead it's just an alternate cover for the newest issue of, or one at the time, the newest issue of Walking Dead. And in here it's got letter hacks, and it talks about Kirkman answers some questions in here, and they talk about the Commonwealth and going to Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm wondering if Negan, Michonne, and Rick escape Hilltop, and head towards Ohio. I wonder if that's how they introduced the Commonwealth and split our group up.
I don't know. It would be very interesting.
Because Rick's idea of salvation is keeping Negan alive and keeping him as an example. And if the only way to do that is by leaving Hilltop because they can't trust Maggie anymore, like maybe something Maggie does goes wrong, and if Negan survives that accident, because I'm assuming she's going to go after him in his sleep, then maybe he's just like, all right, we got to get him out of here. Let's go.
Yeah.
And that might turn that action could possibly turn Negan over a new leaf with Rick. You think? Would that be enough? I mean, saving each other's lives. I mean, and then like the backstabbery that's happening with the three council members, the dark. I'm going to call them the Dark Council. Seriously,
I don't know. It's odd.
It's fucked up. Seriously, it's way fucked up.
So,
what do you think's going to happen?
I have no idea. We do see Morgan leave and go to the heaps.
Right.
And he tells Jadis, who we find out her name's Anne.
Anne.
I don't know why she decides to go by Jadis, but anyway.
Probably the same reason why she decided to talk with like half the words.
Yeah.
I talk this.
Yeah.
You talk much?
Anyway, he tells her that the war's over. Negan's, you can go hang out with Rick.
Right. You need to be with
people.
people.
Which is odd. She does leave. I know the helicopter had flown off. She had a flare for it. It was used. I wouldn't know why maybe you wouldn't stay and wait for the helicopter to come back. Like, did she know it was supposed to only come just the one time? I mean, that to me was a little strange.
Yeah. I hope that doesn't go unanswered because that was really weird. Like, and if it was only going one time, how do you know it was coming that time?
Exactly.
Like, they don't have like if you had a radio.
She had an alarm that went off at that time. She had her bag packed. She knew that helicopter was going to be there at that time.
It was very Lost-esque. That was kind of like a Lost thing. There's got like it's going to be like season like 15, and then we'll be like, oh yeah. Remember that helicopter? Every 10 months, that helicopter comes flying by.
Right.
That's what the alarm clock was for.
Yeah. So she leaves. We assume goes to Hilltop, and we don't see her.
Yeah, we don't know where she goes.
Yeah. And Morgan takes possession of
the heaps.
And she asks, aren't you going to go back? And he's like, no, like I can't go back right now. Because I'm crazy.
Yeah.
And we see, well, that's basically the end of that episode. Right. And then
Fear starts.
And there's a little scene with a new character. He's new to the Fear the Dead universe. He actually, we looked him up, and he played in that Raising Hope show. He was not the dad of Hope, but the dad of the dad.
The grandfather.
The grandfather of Hope. And he plays this like gunslinger guy. He even has this real different kind of draw to it. Like, he feels like he's right out of like a
Western.
old Western kind of a show. But he's sitting around a fire, and he hears a rustling in the woods, and he's talking to the noise.
John Dory.
Yeah, like the fish, he says, but with the IE instead of the Y.
Don't forget the IE.
Right. He talks a lot, but again, he says,
"Oh yeah, okay, like the fish Dory." Now I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I can't believe they made a Nemo reference.
Yeah, they did. They made a Nemo reference.
Dear God, what have we come to? Anyway,
he makes a reference to the fact that he hasn't really spoken for about a year. There's, I think, a female who he's missing and has been looking for, and it sounds like he's probably been without any other people for about a year.
She has his other gun.
Right.
An exact replica.
It's an antique weapon with a special handle.
Two of a kind.
Yep. And so the rustling in the woods comes out. It is a zombie. He shoots it, and Morgan is right behind it.
Right. From the hip.
Yeah, he's
hell of a
fast.
shot.
And then we flash back to Morgan and the Heaps,
Right.
and how people from Rick's group have been coming to try to talk him into going back. Time is passing. Apparently, there's enough time to grow an eggplant.
Right. Well, we noticed that the clothes were changing on the thing.
Yep, and he was doing some farming.
And we don't and I don't even know if the people there were real.
Or if he was just talking to himself.
Or if he was talking to himself.
I have a feeling they were real.
You think so?
I have a feeling Jay just came to Rick's group and said,
He's
hey,
staying
he's
behind.
staying there. And so they went, right. And the last thing that Rick says to him is, you can hide, but you can't run.
Yeah, I think so.
And so he starts running. He packs up all his belongings.
I'll show you, bitch.
Right. He packs up all his belongings, and we see him heading out. I'm not sure where he was. I don't think he even knew where he was going. He comes to a crossroads, and he stays there at least overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why he decides to go which way, but he just takes off running. And then we see him hotwire a car, which at this point, it's been so long we discussed this that gasoline really wouldn't work.
It only has
at
a shelf
this
life
point.
of like 18 months. And even then it's very iffy.
So, we're just going to ignore that fact. But
which they do talk about in the comic that in that letter hacks that I was talking about. They do talk about, using horseback and carriages and stuff like that because the fuel has been depleted. There's no more refineries.
Yep. So at any rate, so we see him, hotwire a car and drive for a little ways, then walk some more and run some more. And you notice that his shoe gets duct taped up. And,
right. He's been going for a while.
Right.
A
lot of time and distance is passing, and then it catches him up to where he's meeting this John Dory guy.
So and you see the same scene from Morgan's standpoint, which is really cool.
It's really neat.
They didn't have to do that, but
the
the
crossover was very neat. I wasn't sure if you trust this guy, but really, he's extremely nice for being this far into the apocalypse.
He's determined because a couple times during this episode, Morgan has said, "Leave me alone. I'm by myself." And
this guy's been by himself though for a year.
Right. He's like he's just like a sad little puppy.
Wants somebody,
he's
right?
Like, I just want someone to talk to, and if I have to save your ass every time, I will.
And it makes you kind of wonder though, how he's not come across any other survivors in the last year, really. I mean, I know we are pretty far into the apocalypse, but it just seems like there's a lot of people out there, or communities, but maybe there really isn't.
Well, you got to remember.
They're in Texas.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got to remember he's in Texas, not in Georgia, where there's. Texas, especially along the border.
Well, now they're in Virginia.
Oh, is that where Morgan is? I thought. Mm-hmm. Oh.
Well, they were originally in Atlanta, but Alexandria is in Virginia because they were headed to D.C.
That's right. Gotcha. My bad.
So yeah, they are probably in a less populous area, I guess maybe. But they come across some bad guys. I don't know how else to put it.
It reminded me a lot of Joe, the biker group Joe. Just like a couple of guys that just were pillaging whatever they could and just don't mess with us.
And along comes this lady in a SWAT truck.
Right. A reporter in a SWAT truck.
We find out that she's a reporter.
Somehow she's jerry-rigged the top of the SWAT truck to have...
She pulls this lever and these flaps open up and these big machine gun turret things come out.
And she all pulls with one lever to fire them both. It's just like, how did you do... you're a reporter. I want to see...
She may have been with somebody else previously.
Right. It's the same... it's the same argument that people have with Saw, the older Saw or the newer Saw videos where you've got this detective that's making these intricate, very mechanical, heavy puzzles. I want to see your degree where you went to school for 10 years to figure out how to do this stuff. Because I don't believe for a second you could do anything like that. This chick's a reporter that has a video camera that looks like she's,
duct taped together
and, she looks like she's a vlogger.
Yeah. So which is interesting. She's going around just trying to get people's stories. That's all she wants from them is their story.
Right. She's willing to trade for stories. Like she said, I saved your life. You owe me your story. She's not looking for food. In fact, she was offered food and she denied it. She's like, I want your story. This is important to the survival of journalism. This is something that needs to be documented. And I kind of agree. It's an interesting take. It's a,
Yeah, her character will be interesting.
It's something.
Althea?
Yeah, Thea.
Who,
Althea. Call me Al.
If you know who she is, she actually, didn't we talk about Lost?
Yeah.
She was, what was her name on Lost?
Start with an M.
Maggie?
No, not Maggie.
Shannon,
not an M-S.
Yeah. So she was Shannon on Lost. Kind of comes back to Lost.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, so that's the actress that plays her. So it'll be an interesting character to see, kind of get the backstories on these new people too.
Well, and she has something different to offer the viewers. Like there's no other character like this.
Right. Or even the John Dory guy.
Right.
He seems so naive and
he's
just
so far off base that I don't know if I can
get behind him.
I don't know if I can get behind him. With her, on the other hand, since her backstory is journalism and she's, she believes it's a believable character. The John Dory thing just seems like he just stepped out of an old Western, and I don't know if I don't know. I like the character. It just, I don't know.
You will have to see where he came from in order to understand him.
I swear to God, if he came from like a theme park, like if he came from Westworld,
it's funny.
He's a robot. It's a robot. He's a robot. That's why he's so quick to draw, so accurate. It's a freaking robot.
It is, I'm sure.
Where does Westworld take place?
I don't know. Possibly another planet.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
We need to figure that out. I think there's crossover happening. They're crossovering the crossover.
That's exactly it.
It's a robot. You've heard it here first.
At any rate, bunch of stuff goes down. They get captured by the guys that she saved them from. Not captured, but
captured.
They do get captured and save each other some more.
Break free.
So
fast forward to the end.
Fast forward to the end of the episode because it's just kind of a lot of just getting to know these people.
Right. At this point, Morgan's been shot in the leg. We still have both. We still have the cowboy. We still have Athena or whatever her name
Althea.
is. Althea. They still have their truck.
Morgan is willing to give a little bit of a story at this point. At the beginning, he didn't want to talk about it at all. He finally does say that he loses people, that he had friends, and they
talked about Alexandria. Talked about
how there were cities and they fought with each other.
Fought very bad people, which I think. I'm wondering if he was referring to Rick when he said we fought bad people.
No.
Because Rick, I don't know. No. I don't think he likes Rick very much.
I think he does.
Okay.
Anyway, so fast forward to the end, and they're driving down the highway or a street, whatever.
Morgan takes the candy from the cowboy. The cowboy dude is constantly
he's
offering everybody candy, and Morgan is not taking a piece of candy yet, and he finally does after this loss. So he's starting to accept the group that he's in.
Right.
So I don't
see such an outsider.
Right. I don't think we're gonna see crazy Morgan in the next couple episodes unless something bad happens. But
something bad kind of did happen.
Right. So they're driving down the road.
They're driving down the road. They see a girl in the middle of the road, and she looks injured.
Yeah.
So being the nice people that they are, which is at this point from what we've seen in the other show,
run her over.
Right. I mean, most people aren't so trusting at this point.
Right.
And this group is extremely naive and trusting, it feels like.
Which is strange for Morgan. Like,
Morgan
almost put it like...
He was kind of in the back. I don't know that he had a... at any rate, Althea gets out to help this girl, and the girl says, there's bad people around, and she...
It's Alyssa.
Moves really fast. Alicia,
sorry.
She moves real fast and holds a knife or a gun or something to her, I think, right?
Something, yeah.
And then you see Strand come out, and Nick comes out, and they all are holding him up, basically.
Right.
Alicia looks feral almost. I mean, like
all of them
like
look
they
really
just
bad.
like their eyes are like sunken, and they're just they look like they've been through hell and back.
Yeah, Alicia does not have her makeup on.
So it'll be interesting to see.
I want to see what happened to them before this.
Well, but there's a huge time jump between
Right, I want to know
the
what's in
dam,
it.
because
Right.
we know, even though we didn't watch season 3, we heard about basically there was a dam that exploded and all of this. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at the end of season 3 to now
Right.
to make them this way. And is this season going to cover all of that, or is it going to be ahead? And are we getting glimpses? Because we've seen in previews, you know, a society that they have built in this baseball stadium, and we've seen her and Jenna Elfman, which is going to be a new character they've not introduced yet, going and raiding like at a water park, and things seem okay-ish. So is that in the future from what we're seeing now, or is that between what we've just seen and episode, you know, season 3,
Right.
and then all hell's broken loose since though? Like, what have we been shown? We don't really know. So
I hope
it'll
there's
be-
not. I hope there's not a lot of time jumping in this. I hope not.
There will be.
Damn it. Oh God.
I mean, there already
I
has
am
been.
not a fan of like within the same episode. Like I'm not a fan of that.
Sorry.
So anyway, all right. So that was Fear the Walking Dead. We are caught up. So Fear comes back this coming Sunday, and then also Westworld comes back.
Yay!
Speaking of Westworld, it's coming back. I'm excited.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
So, all right. You have anything else you want to talk about?
I don't.
Okay. Well, we'll be back next week, guys. Amanda's gonna have her first impressions of Stardew Valley. That's on the Switch, right? You are gonna
Assuming
play
I
it.
can sit down and play. I've got so much photography to do.
I'm gonna force you to play video games. It'll be okay.
Wouldn't you like me to make money?
Quiet you. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Make sure you head over to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/72DPI online. Get subscribed. Leave a comment below. Tell us what you thought of the premiere and the finale of The Walking and Fear the Walking Dead. We're really kind of interested to hear what your guys' thoughts are. Are you as passionate? Which side do you fall on with Eugene? Are you Eugene Negan or are you Eugene Rick? What side of the aisle do you fall on? Who do you agree with more? My side, grab my side. No. Okay. Well, whatever. Let us know in the comments below. Also, I'm kind of curious about the Call of Duty thing. I really don't care that they split it up. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I might actually purchase the Call of Duty game for the multiplayer purposes because that's a lot of fun. I enjoy that. And you know, I really don't care too much. I'll rent I did it with the last one. I rented the game to play the single player, so I'll do that. So I'm kind of curious what you guys are going to do if that's in fact what they do. I want to know and hear from you. Talked about that. Yeah, we'll be back next Wednesday with more video games and talk about Westworld. I'm excited for Westworld to come back. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Have a great night, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday on twitch.tv/72DPI online. Have a good night.
Night.